Looks like Melbourne winter has descended on us. It's been a weekend of Arctic winds and a lot of rain and not really much opportunity to get out on the bike. I was really hoping that we'd seen the last of this winter, but maybe that was being a little bit optimistic. We might be stuck on Zwift a little bit more this winter before we can start doing some proper spring riding, unfortunately. So it might be worth talking a little bit about Zwift. I thought talk a little bit about indoor cycling and Zwift in particular. This winter I've gotten into it a lot more. Check out some of my Zwift racing videos. There's been a few events, in particular the SRAM Send It series, and I found those quite good. Firstly, there's a set routine, so it forces you to get into that habit of just getting on the trainer once a week. But I think the best thing about Zwift is just there's so much on for everybody. I think if you're thinking about getting into Zwift, I would highly recommend giving it a go. So I thought I might just have a chat today about how you could get into Zwift, some of the different ways you could get into Zwift. All too often when we have hard rubbish collection and everyone throws out their rubbish, or they organise the council to come and collect their junk, I see so often exercise bikes out on the rubbish. Now sometimes I think those things just move from hard rubbish to hard rubbish. Just walk away. It's a trap. Don't fall for it. You know, it's the same 3 or 4 exercise bikes that people pick up, and they say, "Oh well, I'm gonna get fit on this exercise bike," and you know, they never use it, and they just ended up next hard rubbish. It goes to the next house or the next unsuspecting victim. Now, the real problem with those things is they're boring as hell. Well, that's where Zwift comes in. It makes it so much more enjoyable. Forget the exercise bike, because they're just made for hard rubbish. Now I know you can get into Zwift using just a speed sensor and a normal fluid trainer. Now if that's all you've got, if that's what you've got at the moment, and you want to just sign up for Zwift and have some fun, then give it a shot. But you're really going to need to get into a smart trainer to get the full simulation out of Zwift. That way you'll get all the grade simulations. It just makes it much more fun. You get the drafting effect if you really want to race a bit. If you're not familiar with the different trainer options that are out there, there's 2 main distinctions of smart trainers. The first one is the wheel-on trainer. So that just basically uses your rear wheel. It sits on the trainer on a friction wheel, and you're good to go. Now you will chew through tyres. If you're just running fancy tyres, then you might want to look at getting a set of trainer. I don't know, if you've only got the one bike and it's got super soft tyres that are going to wear out, and you've got to start swapping wheels to some sort of trainer tyre, I don't know, it's gonna lose its charm. It's really going to get old quickly. You're really going to wish that you just had probably a wheel off trainer. So for me, I just ride on my trainer on my commuter bike, and for that I'm using just cheap tyres, just Maxxis refuse tyres. I think I can buy a pair for $50, and you know, they last a fair bit on the trainer, and just go with that. You can get trainer specific tyres, but I don't know, I just tend to just use the Maxxis refuse, chuck it on the trainer, and ride to work the next day. The other is the wheel off or direct drive trainer. That's where you remove your wheel, and the trainer has its own cassette as well of its own. They are better. There are a lot of advantages to that setup. You don't wear out your tyre. One of the things I would consider is they're also normally a lot quieter. So if sound is an issue, the wheel off trainer is going to be quieter. There's no bargain end options in the direct drive or wheel off trainer. You will be stepping up to, you know, close to $1,000. Whether there's the Elite has one, and also Tacx has the what is it called? Can't even remember. And also I think storage. Most of the direct drive or wheel off trainers seem to be a bit more, take up a lot more space, whereas most of the the traditional sort of wheel-on trainer, they seem to collapse better. So if you've got a permanent setup, maybe consider that. Let's start first with the budget-friendly option. Looked into this a little bit. The trainer I think you want to be getting into is something like the Elite Qubo B Smart Trainer. Now I'll link below to a great review of that trainer from Shane Miller. It will give you the full Zwift experience. You'll have a smart trainer, you'll get the resistance feedback from the game, drafting, the works. It's small, it's compact, it's a great way to get into Zwift. I've noticed it's got some really good features where you can it just sort of uses your weight on the bike to sit on the roller. Noise wise, it's okay from what I've heard. It is a bit noisy. It's got some elastometer sort of roller which is meant to keep things a bit quieter. And yeah, I think they normally retail for under $400 for between 350 Australian dollars. You can translate that to your local currency. I've seen them at some of the main Aussie bike chain stores for $275. I saw it just the other day for $275, but they were out of stock. It's a really affordable and excellent way to get into Zwift. Only thing to look out for is there is a maximum grade simulation on the trainer. So it's a small light trainer. It's not going to be able to handle massive watts. You're not going to get a really steep gradient simulation. You might only be able to do 7 or 8% gradient, but that's not too bad. So that's one way you could get into it. Now, if you haven't got a bike, you can always just get some eBay, special. Get one of those early 2000s TCRs. I see them come all the time. I reckon they're a classic anyway. You've basically got yourself an awesome setup that's going to be way superior, far superior to one of those stupid exercise bikes. So even if you're not a cyclist and you want to get into indoor cycling, that is an excellent way to get into Zwift. So that's the first option. Maybe you're looking to invest a little bit more in the trainer initially. I think it could be a good idea if you're going to be using it a little bit more. Something with a heavier flywheel will give you that better sort of simulation, I guess. And also, I guess maybe also you just it's something you plan to take a bit more seriously. So why not? You do get what you pay for a little in the end. If you're looking to step up into something a little bit more serious, one of the things you got to ask yourself, or one of the considerations one of the things I would be looking at is, do you already have a power meter on your bike? If you don't have a power meter, what I would be doing is I'd be looking at getting, for the same money, a power meter on my bike and a smart trainer. You can probably get by with the same money as one of those high-end smart trainers. So I'd be looking at $1,000. You'd be getting one of the pedal-based systems, either from Garmin or PowerTap or Favero, and then getting a mid-range wheel-on type of trainer. That way, for the same investment, first we'll have a really good trainer, which will be more than enough to enjoy Zwift for the winter. And secondly, you'll have power on your bike, the same power that you've been on Zwift, so you have good consistent numbers, that if this winter ever leaves us, you'll be able to get out on the road and have power while you're riding as well out on the road. Speaking of sunshine, man, it's been like 10 seasons in one day today. The frogs are out as well. Wanted to see if I could catch one. So for me, for the total investment, that is a much better way to go if you don't already have a power meter. So mid-range wheel-on trainer, I'm going to recommend the Kickr Snap V2. That's the one I'm using. I'm using the version 1. There's a new one out now. You're looking at about $600-700, and that is a really good trainer. It's really sturdy, it's really solid, it's got quite a heavy flywheel, it folds up, you can put it away, it's not bad. When I bought the trainer, I didn't have a power meter. I just didn't know how much I was going to be using it, and rather than go right on the budget end of the spectrum or at the top end, I just took the middle ground. There's a lot going on Zwift. I don't do like any structured training in my cycling. I probably should, but I'm just sort of having fun really. Most of my cycling is commuting, which isn't the best way of training, because Sometimes it's just a lot of dirty zone 3, zone 2, zone 3 during the week, and it just gets me tired. And in the end, come Friday, I'm just done for the week and haven't really accomplished much. But I don't do any structured training or high intensity intervals. I just try and race on Zwift. Zwift also has a rich set of training that you can do as well. A full schedule. I mean, it's not going to be like Trainer Road or any of the real platforms or that focus on structured training. To me, it's just a lot more fun. If you're really pressed for time, Zwift is a really, really good way to keep fit, have fun, and improve your cycling, because the intensity that you can put out on that trainer is much higher than what you can do if you just go for a ride. It just forces you to put in some big efforts. That's what I found. I think the subscription is about $20 Australian a month, which really isn't a lot. I mean, I might not use it in summer very much. It's really just a 3 or 4 month winter thing. But you know, they're running a pretty sophisticated platform there, global platform, and you know, they're gonna make some money too. They've had a great idea, I think. I managed to get out last week to go. I went for a ride to Frankston up Oliver's Hill. Maybe you've checked out the video. But what I found was that I was riding on Zwift so much and just commuting that I sort of lost that drive, I guess, to head out on the road. So I went out, I rode my good bike, which I haven't ridden for probably about 3 months. And what I found was that I really enjoyed it. Really, you know, out on the road, you feel feel the wind in your hair, and it's really, really good. It just snapped me out of a little bit. So I don't see Zwift as a replacement. I see it as a simulator in terms of I don't get that enjoyment out of Zwift the way that I do with real riding on the road. Look at this. There's a tram up here. If winter's got you down, definitely look at Zwift. Definitely look at getting into Zwift. If you just want to dip your toes, like I said, just start off with a budget trainer, Elite, Qubo, B, Smart Trainer, or maybe even just go one of the mid-range trainers, and you could always add a power meter later onto your bike if you need to. But there's a lot of fun to be had on Zwift. 12 months of the year, it's not always that easy to keep on top of your game, and you don't need to be following some sort of training program like crazy. You just need to stick to it, and Zwift is a really, really good way that if you've just got half an hour at home, you can just punch out a quick race or ride on a quick course and try and set yourself some power numbers. You don't have to worry about getting run over. You don't really have to worry about the PC or that part of it. It's really, really easy. It all connects, no problem at all. If I can figure it out, anyone can. It's not really that hard at all. So that's what I found. I found that the day that I bought my trainer, I was riding on Zwift basically as soon as I had it out of the box. In terms of specifics on trainers, I'm hoping I've given you some ideas. There are probably 3 categories of trainers: the budget, the mid-range, and the high-end. And I've probably also given you something to think about regarding combining a smart trainer with a power meter. That way, you get the best of both worlds. I mean, these high-end trainers, they're really, really expensive, and it can be a barrier. I mean, 1,600 plus Aussie dollars for a trainer. You can buy a nice bike on the second-hand market. If you're not familiar with Shane Miller's channel, I'll link below. He is the indoor training guru, as well as Ray on DC Rainmaker. They've got a lot of comparisons. You can go mental reading about all the different smart trainers and comparisons of accuracy between different power meters. You can get into it. Just jump in, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. One of the other possibilities for Zwift is for non-cyclists. Now, I think I mentioned earlier about those stupid exercise bikes. Those things, if you get a decent exercise bike, it's not that cheap, really. And I mean, you can't ride it. You can't even just go for a ride with your kids. I mean, if you're just sitting on exercise bike, it's just so boring. I mean, I guess you could be watching YouTube. You can watch my channel on YouTube. That's probably really motivating. No, I'm probably being a bit silly now, aren't I? You just start in on the real budget options. The Elite Qubo B will take any wheel, any sort of bike, because it just sort of sits on. You use your own weight to sit the bike on the trainer, so it will take any size wheel, I think. So even your kids could have a go on their little bikes, just for a bit of fun. It's got to be better than kids playing Fortnite. This weather is getting so nasty. When I was trying to get fit and lose some weight, I was jogging and walking, and I blew out my knee in no time. I was a lot heavier than I am now. So I found cycling was, you don't really hurt yourself in cycling. Although sitting on that seat, sometimes you can get a sore back and sore shoulders. It's a bit unnatural, but it's a great zero impact way of getting fit, definitely. Yeah, so even for non-cyclists, if you're watching this, get into it. You can get into it for equivalent of what you might be spending on a gym membership or some sort of equipment maybe at home, either one of those nasty exercise bike or some other equipment like a rowing machine, or those things I see on the telemarketing, they're all smiling and they're all happy and they're working out and they've got a six-pack. I wouldn't mind one of those pieces of equipment if it would do that, but yeah, I think any time you can make it fun, then it'll work for you. Whereas if it's like exercise, if it's hard work, man, it's going to be harder to stick to. So if you're a non-cyclist watching this, I'd give it some consideration. You've probably got some bike in the garage. Grab yourself a basic smart trainer like I've talked about today. Sign up for Zwift, and hopefully I'll see you out there. Hopefully I've given you some food for thought today, and comment below if you have any other questions. I'll be happy to answer whatever I can. And anyway, until next time, see you later.